What's going on, guys? This is Daniel. Happy Monday, right? Happy Monday. I'm super glad that it's Monday. I hope you guys are too. If you guys aren't super happy to be Monday, happy to have it be Monday, well, then you got to find a new passion. Welcome to our real estate investing live Q&A session at 11 a.m. Central Time here in Warrenville, Illinois. That's where I'm at in the state of Illinois in the United States of America, in this solar system, in this galaxy. Far away, right? That's a Star Wars reference. But good morning, guys, right? I'm happy that you guys are here with me. Today's topic is no money down, right? So I know last week I was in Florida. We had a lot of technical difficulties. So I'm super happy to be back in the studio with these glaring lights that I'm probably going to start sweating here a little bit pretty soon. But I'm happy to be back here with proper equipment and no technical difficulties whatsoever. So it's good. Today's topic is no money down. So obviously it is specific to owner financing. But we're going to talk about how to negotiate no money down within the construct of seller financing. But before we go ahead and do that, let's talk about some quick announcements. So obviously with the topic of owner financing, you guys all know, because I'm sure a lot of you guys are regular viewers, that we do have a free owner financing class out right now. On top of that, we got some pretty exciting stuff that's coming out. There's a really good video that we released about a couple days ago. I think it was about late last week, and it's titled "How to Negotiate for Owner Financing," and it's probably arguably one of the best videos I ever made. It's a 30-minute training, and I share a lot of insider secrets that I haven't shared with a lot of people, especially on YouTube in a public forum where, we have almost 50,000 subscribers. So I definitely haven't shared it in front of 50,000 people. I shared it in the past with my one-on-one clients and some of my students, but I decided to share it here in our YouTube channel. So also, before we move forward, give us a thumbs up and press that like button, and also share this live stream on your social media platforms, because I'm sure there's a lot of questions that people have about real estate, not just investing in real estate, but also real estate related questions. I think real estate is a topic that, a lot of people are afraid to talk about, and especially, the mom and pops, and especially the people my age, the millennials, where, we're kind of getting to that cusp of, buying property, of buying a house, to get married and settle down and have kids. And honestly, this is probably the first time in my life where I feel old, because I'm scrolling through, my Instagram and my personal Facebook, and I see all my friends from high school and college, having kids. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, are we really at that age now? So, to those guys that ask, how old am I? I'm in my mid-20s, right? I'm in my mid-20s, and so it's just, I don't know, it's just really weird to see people my age having kids. So any real estate related questions, feel free to type in the chat box now as I continue to go throughout the announcements and some of the housekeeping stuff. If you also want to put in the chat box where you're from, I'm gonna start doing this really fun thing in our live streams where you tell me where you're from, and I'm gonna tell you what the real estate market is like over there. So I do study a lot of different markets. I've studied the Northwest, the Southeast, major cities. I love reading on reports. It's honestly what I do for fun. When I get all my work done and all my stuff is kind of finished and I don't have any sessions with one-on-one clients, I'll read up on research reports of certain major cities. Like, I'll look at the vacancy rates, I'll look at unemployment rates, I'll look at supply and demand models for that particular market. So yeah, tell me where you're from, and let's talk about the real estate market in that area. Okay, so we got upstate New York. So the reason why I laugh, because I think we all know what anything New York, right? But upstate, I'm assuming, is more of a not the city of New York, because I know New York City is right next to the water, kind of on that south east portion of the state of New York. So I'm assuming we're not talking about Manhattan. We're not talking about Brooklyn or Queens or any of those places. We're talking about upstate New York. So New York, the state of New York, has a very interesting phenomenon. It's actually very similar to my home state of Illinois. I'm not going to bunch California in there because with California, really kind of the whole state, you have a lot of major cities kind of throughout that whole state. Contrary, as opposed to my home state of Illinois and, J Locals Arts home state of New York. Because in California, you got North Side, you got Sacramento, you've got, and then you got the Bay Area, San Francisco, Oakland, and then you also have Southern California, such as Los Angeles and San Diego. And you have other major cities kind of around there that aren't really major cities, but they're pretty well known, like Bakersfield, Pasadena. A lot of, so the whole state of California really is an interesting phenomenon because you have so many, like I think you have more major cities in the state of California than anything else. I think the closest that would come is maybe Texas and Florida, because Texas you got Houston, Dallas, Austin, Florida, you got Orlando, Tampa, Miami. But California, you have San Diego, Los Angeles, Sacramento, and then you got Bakersfield, you got, San Francisco, Oakland, right? There's way more, right? But upstate New York, same phenomena as Illinois, where, they're democratic states where they have a lot of democratic tendencies and what I mean by that with democratic tendencies is you typically have a much more favorable side in terms of landlord-tenant laws. So typically, big blue states, democratic states, they favor significantly more the tenant over than the landlord. So to give you an example of that, right, to give you a more extremity in terms of the imagery around that is in the state of Illinois, we have what's called squatters' rights, meaning that if you are squatting in a piece of real estate property, and squatting is not an exercise, right? It is in which an individual will stay in an apartment complex or stay in a unit, right, a rental unit, whether that be a single family home, an apartment complex, a condo, whatever it may be. They will stay in a rental unit, not pay rent, and just stay there. So by virtue, you are stealing, right? You're absolutely stealing someone else's property, right, by not paying rent. Those people in the state of Illinois have rights, meaning that if you violate the law and you're stealing, you have rights as a squatter. What? Right? Like it just totally doesn't make sense. So New York is of the same spectrum of Illinois, to where if you invest in the state of New York, right, and it might not be that bad, right? Because in Illinois we have Cook County, and Cook County is the city of Chicago, along with other the Chicago greater area, so they speak, right? That's Cook County. Taxes in Cook County are significantly higher than other counties in Illinois, such as Kane, Kendall, Will, DuPage, right? Typically, if you invest in Illinois, if you're a real estate investor in Illinois, and you're outside of Cook County, which houses the city of Chicago, you're going to be at around 15% in taxes of your gross income. So meaning that if you rent out a unit for $1,000, typically your taxes are going to account for $150 a month. The same is true of the state of New York, right? To where the county in which New York belongs to is going to have a higher tax rate, but upstate New York, you don't have that high of a tax rate. So it's been a long time since I verified taxes in upstate New York, and this is a market that I don't know as much because I stay away from investing in places like the state of New York. Because if I'm going to invest in those type of states, I might as well just do it in my home state, because really the rules and the conditions are the same. But the only difference is I'm close and I live there. So it's been a long time, but to my correction, that tax rate is very similar to Illinois, which is between like 10 to 15%, give or take 2 or 3, right? So my estimation with places like New York, probably a good rental market like it is in Illinois, because we have a lot of immigrants, and I'm saying that's a good thing, right? Because we need immigrants, we need talent to come to the United States. That's what made America great, right? People coming in and providing their talents for the greater good of the country. A lot of great population increases. So to give you an idea, a lot of people have the myth that Illinois is losing people. That is true and not true at the same time. So Illinois is losing a lot of individuals that make over $75,000 a year. We're losing a lot of high-income individuals. That is true. But we're gaining overall. We have a plus 3% in population gain, because that population increase is made up primarily of millennial immigrants. Why millennial immigrants? Because I would make the argument that Illinois, right up there with California, New York, and Florida, have the best universities, right? We have very good universities, right? Maybe not the best, but we have good universities. We have Northwestern, which is one of the top medical schools, universities that you can go to. We have University of Chicago, which is one of the top universities you can go to for law and medicine. We have U of I, right? University of Illinois, which is arguably the best engineering school in the country. And we also have state schools, large state schools like ISU, UIC, right? There's a lot of, and if you go to, and the difference is if you go to these schools, you have a lot of minorities. A lot of minorities, to the point where they're not minorities anymore. Whereas if you were to go to schools like the University of Alabama or Nebraska, like some of these big schools, not a whole lot of minorities, right? It's predominantly Caucasian, right? But if you go to a lot of these to schools, right, in California or New York, not as much in Florida, but if you go to a lot in New York, California, and Illinois, you have a lot of minorities that go to these schools. So a lot of that account for that +3 population increase, which tells me that it's a great rental market, because predominantly a lot of these immigrant minorities, they don't have enough funds to buy a house. They really don't, unless they're a foreign exchange student and they come from money in another country. A lot of these immigrant students who come here on a student visa and they want to stay here, they want to get jobs, they're going to rent, right? So Illinois has the same concept as upstate New York. So for a lot of you guys that are joining us, because I do see a spike in numbers, right? So for a lot of you guys that are joining us, we're doing this thing to where the way we're gonna start this live stream from now on is you're gonna tell me where you're from, right? And I'm gonna do my best to tell you what the real estate market is like in that area. But today's topic, right? So we got about 10 people going on now in the live chat. And again, guys, don't forget to click on that thumbs up button. Give this video a thumbs up, right? I haven't had breakfast. You'll have to excuse me if I stutter on my words. So what happens if you guys have never been in this type of a studio environment is the lights get really hot and my mouth starts to water and salivate for some reason. So I start stuttering on my words very easily. So that's why I have this water bottle and I'll be drinking from it very frequently. It's also very easy to get lightheaded, but it's okay. It's okay. This is the sacrifices I make to bring content to all of you. This is love. This is love at its finest, right? So what we're doing is to kind of start off the live stream is you tell me where you're from, just kind of as a fun, thing, because that's what we usually do. You kind of share with me where you're from, and I do my best to tell you about that real estate investing market. Is it a good market? Should you invest in it, et cetera, yes or no, right? But let's go ahead and answer some questions. So give this video a thumbs up. It really does help us. It helps us support this channel. It helps us to keep doing what we do on a weekly basis. And we've invested a lot for you guys to be able to get value for free, right? This is free stuff, right? We got sound panels. I don't even know what all this stuff is, right? We got mics. We got professional cameras. We got this awesome TV in the background. And also my hair and makeup lady. We pay her thousands and thousands of dollars for me to look like this. I'm actually a 55-year-old man. You don't even know that, But anyways, feel free to put in your questions, guys. Anything about real estate investing in general, feel free to put in any question around that topic. Today's specific topic that I'm going to address during those times in between where I don't have any real estate investing questions is how to negotiate for no money down. So in order for us to know and how to buy properties no money down, and I've bought apartments, I've bought pieces of property at no money down. The way you get that is obviously through seller financing. So the way that no money down is possible is through seller financing. The other way that I see no money down happening is if you do what's called a subject to acquisition. Now, what a subject to acquisition is, it stands for subject to the existing financing, and it's when you find an individual that is in a very tough time, financially tough time, and you basically take over their payments. You take over the mortgages. You take over their payments, and you save them from the scenario that they are in. Now, I had scenarios where you buy properties subject to, and you basically have to pay the back taxes, right? So it's not totally no money down, but you get the property existing to the financing, but in exchange, you pay whatever back taxes that they didn't pay, you pay for any lien, you pay for construction, whatever it may be, right? But I've had scenarios where the seller just wanted to get rid of it. They were not in a good position. They were in a time of life where they needed to free up a lot of time. And so, they had somebody just take over the mortgage. So that's an example of no money down. But the predominant way that individuals are buying properties no money down is seller financing, right? So seller financing, obviously, we all know, we addressed it last week, is when you have the seller finance the property for you rather than the bank. Now, no money down means that you're not putting any money down, you're not bringing any money at closing, and the loan financing starts day one, regardless of you putting money down or what, right? So obviously that's contrary to when you go to a bank and you put money down, because the banks in the business of risk assessment want you to have some skin in the game, right? If you default, they want you to lose something, which is that typically 20 to 25% cash that you put down to get the financing. Well, what would incentivize a guy, an individual, to do seller financing at no money down? Well, let's talk about a couple things here, and then I see some locations that three people, right? Matt, Zenaida, and Robel posted on our chat. We're going to address that, but first I'm going to talk about the two or three benefits that a seller may have in doing no money down, just so you could reverse engineer the negotiation process. So the first benefit is a larger monthly payment. So obviously, if you put no money down, that makes the monthly payment go a lot higher. So I've had a lot of individuals who are more seasoned in life, they're older, and they're looking to have a scenario where they just have money coming in every single month. And I've had scenarios where I've negotiated, hey, how about I give you no money down, and that's going to increase your monthly payment by $500 a month, right? We'll put it on 30-year amortization, just so you get that security for the next 30 years. You have a high monthly payment, but in exchange for no money down, I'll give you a 5% interest rate, which that's what I'm going to get at the bank. So I need some incentive, right? So I need some incentive. I need you to do some things for me that the bank isn't willing to do for me. But in exchange, I'll give you the things that I'm willing to do for the bank, right? Because I got to win here too, right? So that's one incentive, a higher monthly payment. Another incentive is the ability to close quick, right? The ability to close quick, because, well, if you're a real estate investor like me and you raise money, and guys, I'm at the position where, I have money, I have money saved up. And, am I able to put down my own down payment? Absolutely. But for me, that's not the best way to scale. Because if I'm going after large apartment buildings like I am, and right now I'm going after anything between, 25 to 75 units in one apartment complex, because I think there's just less competition there, eventually I'm going to exhaust my own capital. That's just the way it works. And I'd rather build relationships with these private lenders who have millions and millions of dollars in capital that I could utilize to put down the down payment. So if I'm putting down the down payment, well, it's going to take time for me to do my research and present this information to my lender. And of course, at that point, the lender is going to have some time to think about this investment decision, and then they're going to have to verbally commit, and then they're going to have to wire in the money, and then we have to establish positions and establish partnerships and equity, so to speak. And that whole process may take a week or two. So if a seller's in a position where, and I've had this happen before, where the seller had court, they had to go to the court with the city for all the tenant troubles and issues happening with the building, and he had court the next week, literally like 9 or 10 days from the day we talked, the day I first met him. So I think we met on like a Wednesday or Tuesday, and the guy had court on Friday. So obviously 9 days, that's not a whole lot of time for me to, get all the information, put the information together in a formally fashion, send it to my investors in my database, get on the phone with them, and get them to commit and get them to wire the money. Obviously, that's going to take some time. So, you know, I told the guy, listen, we can close quick, we can close in 3 days, but I'm gonna need no money down, right? And in exchange, I'll give you 4% interest, I'll give you money. And the guy just took the offer. So those two right there, right? The ability and the freedom to close quick, and also a higher monthly payment. So Matt Smith asked me, have you read the new in-depth negotiation book by Black Swan Group called Ego, Authority, Failure? Yeah, so I've heard of the book. I have a copy in my shelf. I haven't read it yet. So Matt, feel free to let me know in the chat if it's something that I should read. Now, obviously, if you brought it up, maybe you think if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, let me know. Let me know if it's something I should read. All right, from Colorado, doing flips in Nebraska and wholesale in Vegas. So, in my opinion, I think flips can work anywhere because it really does depend on your acquisition. You know, do you have an in? My idea for getting flips is if you're gonna do a fix and flip, it better be an off-market deal. Because if you're in a position where you're competing with other individuals and you're driving up the price, you're not gonna have a big enough spread. The reason why I like doing flips, not in the West, or I'm sorry, not in the central part of the country, is I like doing flips in the coasts, right? I like doing flips in California. I like doing flips in the East Coast, right? I like doing it in Virginia, Florida, places like that, because, well, predominantly speaking, the coast markets, whether you're in the East Coast or West Coast, a lot of the markets go high lows, low lows, right? I'm sorry, so high highs and low lows, right? So it's like a roller coaster. You're going up and down, up and down. And the reason why I even like real estate is because the statement of the more you learn, the more you earn truly applies. So if I'm learning, if I'm researching, well then this is beneficial to me because I can predict this, right? But in terms of the central markets, you know, markets like Nebraska, especially like Illinois, you know, you're kind of looking at this here. It's like a wave. It's like a little baby wave, right? But the markets where, you know, like the coast, like California, I would even throw Texas in there, even though it's not in the coast. But the East Coast, you know, it's a lot like a tsunami. You're going to have high waves, but at the same time, you're going to have very low lows. And that, a lot of times, it really suffocates the people who aren't educated, which ended of the day, that's what I want the market to do. I want the market to suffocate and clean out the people who are not educated, the people who don't, you know, take this seriously, who don't master the craft, so to speak, you know, because it does a lot of things for the people who do put the time in. Wholesale in Vegas, I would agree with that, right? I think that's a good thing that you're doing if you're wholesaling in Vegas, just because, you know, whenever you have individuals or whenever you have sentiments, market sentiments, where a lot of people want to invest in one particular area, you know, I think it's a great opportunity to wholesale, right? It's like the gold rush. There were more people who made money off the people coming with the hopes of getting gold, like the people who sold shovels and the people who sold other equipment. Those people got more rich than the people actually trying to mine for gold because they saw that a lot of individuals were coming, they had a lot of demand, and they chose to be the supply, right? So a lot of real estate investors out there, like if you go on other online platforms like Bigger Pockets or Facebook groups or even our channel, I get a lot of questions that, you know, people ask me, hey, you know, I'm investing in Vegas, right? Or I'm doing a deal in Vegas, or I'm doing something in Vegas. Can you help me out? And that's smart if you're wholesaling in Vegas. So doing flips in Nebraska, unless you live there and you got a crew and you got a rock solid business plan and you're able to buy properties for extremely cheap, I don't know. I wouldn't say I know about that a whole lot, but wholesale in Vegas, I can totally see that. So Zenny from Vallejo, California. So where is Vallejo? I'm going to Google that right now. Where is Vallejo, California? Let's see where we're at here. So that is, oh wow, okay. So you're in the Bay Area. Yeah, so you're near Palo Alto, you're near San Francisco, Sacramento area. That's cool, right on, man. All right, so uh, expensive, that's all I'll say, right? Expensive. Really, really expensive. That's all I'm gonna say. Matt Smith, I've been crushing Nebraska on. That's awesome, right? So I'm guessing you've got a really kick-ass contracting crew. You got a system in which you're able to buy properties for very cheap. But of course, that's with anything, right? And I always tell people like real estate is local, right? As much as I preach macroeconomics, and I think that is important because and when I say macroeconomics, I'm not saying more on location. I'm referring more to chronological because people don't understand how to read markets for timing's sake, not location's sake. But I always say, real estate is local in terms of location. It's a very local business. If you know the area well, and Matt, I don't know if you live in Nebraska or not, but if you live, if you know the area well and you've got a crew and you got a rock solid business plan and you're reactive and you're proactive, then heck yeah, man, of course you're gonna kill it. And I say right now, we're at a time where, mortgage rates are very low, money is good, money is very loose, and overall the economy is doing great. You should be killing it. Everybody should be crushing it right now. But there's a lot of people who will not be able to say the same 2, 3, 4 years from now, I believe. Atlanta, Georgia. So Atlanta, great rental market. A lot of corporations are moving there. I know they have, I think Google headquarters is in Atlanta, but they got a lot of phenomenal employers. I know a lot of individuals, they have a very good population increase. I know that Atlanta, especially the greater Atlanta area, can be very high or very low. It's a lot like Chicago to where, in one neighborhood, it's not phenomenal rental market. In another neighborhood, you try and collect rent physically by going there, you're gonna get shot, you're gonna get stabbed, right? So Atlanta is a lot like that. To where, and I think the last time I was in Atlanta, it's about a year ago. I was running a training for a real estate academy down there. But it's a very hot and cold area. So I would say that do your due diligence in terms of finding out. But in terms of apartment complexes, especially 50 unit plus, I love Atlanta. But you know what? A lot of real estate companies love Atlanta too. So keep that in mind, right? Daniel, how do you feel about Illinois signing bill to require licensed wholesale? I love it. Well, exactly. That's exactly right. I love the fact that it weeds out a lot of the people who, they try and daisy chain wholesale deals. They'll try and they'll literally post on Facebook groups properties that they don't even have under contract. Like, it's the stupidest thing that they do. So I'm super glad Illinois did pass that law. Signing that bill to require a license. But I also know that they also said something along the lines of you have to have an entity to wholesale, which is good. It keeps the industry clean, and that's what we want at the end of the day. We want to have a clean industry. My friend in Houston couldn't get her flip to sell. Yeah, so I would make the argument that, that him or her, right, most likely doesn't have as well of an established system as you might. So I always say, reverse engineer from your target audience members. So for me, when I do my flips, right, I've got 6 going on right now, I reverse engineer who I want to buy. What are the people that are driving up the prices that I'm gonna make the most money from? So for me, I like targeting FHA hotspots. So, places where a lot of people are buying properties through FHA. What does that mean? It means a lot of the first-time home buyers, i.e. millennials, right? I know millennials are crippled by student debt, and it's very hard for us to buy a house. But I know there's a lot of us who don't have debt, who worked through college, who have a job, they paid off their loan, or they have some money saved up, right? Like, I know a very good example is my fiance. So my fiance worked her butt off during college to not have any loans. She saved a lot of money, and she's a very extreme saver. Like, it drives me crazy, right? Like, she'll have like $60,000 saved, and she'll still be buying $3 beans from Aldi's, and so she's extremely frugal, which is good, right? Like for the longest time, right? And I would say starting at the age of 22 is when I started making like good money, right? Like really good money, to the point where I'm top 1% in the overall spectrum of the United States, right? And one of the things that I struggled with for the longest time was what's the nice way to put this? I think Kanye refers to them as gold diggers, right? Avoiding the people who dig for gold, right? The women, because women are smart, I tell you, right? So it's really good. But a lot of millennials, a lot of us have money saved up to the point where they can afford that 3% down payment on a house, So if you got a $200,000 home, a 3% down payment is going to be $6,000, That's not a whole lot to save. So I know a lot of millennials who do have that money saved, right? And they're doing it. So I target FHA hotspots because, well, that makes for a market where you have more buyers that are eligible to make an offer. So those are the markets where I want to do that. With Texas, you do have a lot of millennials, yes, but you do also have a lot of older individuals who are moving to Texas because of the tax situation there. So, right now, I know it's very investor hot right now. A lot of investors want to invest in Texas, which for good reason. So, she may make good money on, the appreciation. But at the same time, I know because from personal experience and a lot of my buddies who invest in Texas, there's a lot of new builds. There's a lot of new development in Texas. And I know for a fact by reading a lot of reports and even looking at my own market here in Illinois that a lot of flippers are being hurt by developers, right? I mean, you look at it yourself, pre-existing home sales in the second and third quarter of this year so far in 2019 have dropped by 1.7%. However, new construction has been dominating the new home buyer market. They just have, right? I've experienced it myself in some of my own flips, right? A lot more people are buying new developments because, well, with a lot of design and trends that's going on right now, it's going to require a lot more work for flippers to keep up with the trends. Whereas new developers, it's very easy. It's very easy for you to do it from the ground up because you're doing it from scratch. Daniel, when you use private money to fund your owner finance deals, do you give them a note secured mortgage into your property, or would they have second lien? So whenever I do owner financing, whenever I raise private money, I raise the equity, meaning that I give them part of the deal. So whether that's in the structure of an LLC or whether that's in the structure of a 506, whatever it may be, I 9 times out of 10 raise the equity because a lot of times my investors who I target use a lot of tax benefits. So that's the reason why I do it. Now, do they still get a good preferred return? Yes, they get a very good preferred return. But on top of it, they get tax benefits and appreciation, which I want them to take advantage of. That's what I want them to do. I want to give as much as I possibly can. But if I were to do it on a lending basis, I would do a promissory note secured against the first position, not the second. They would have first lien position on the property 100% of the time. All right, so let's go back to the no money down. So incentive for an individual to do no money down, higher monthly payment, a much quicker close, and it also is a great negotiation tool for them to get higher on something else, i.e. the interest rate, i.e. Loan terms, or even potentially a balloon, So I know a lot of sellers who like instituting the balloon, which if you don't know what a balloon is, it's a period of time where you get the financing for, but at the end of that period, so let's say that you and I have a 20-year mortgage, 10-year balloon. That means at that 10-year mark, you have the option to be cashed out, meaning that I would have to refinance or I would have to go to a bank, cash you out, or I refinance the existing loan that you and I have, or I continue to pay. But you as the seller, you have the power to instigate that. So when you negotiate, you as a communicator, you have to ask questions and display imagery that portrays those benefits to the seller. So for me, I ask questions such as, well, are you at a period of time right now where you could use a little bit more security, or do you want more of that money up front, right? So, they would say, if they are the seller that I'm looking for, they would say, well, I want more security. I want more long-term benefit. I said, okay, well, if that's the case, well, I could structure your monthly payment to be this. I can give you this interest rate, and we can also close quick. In exchange, I would not provide any funds at closing. I would give you, this amount of money. And a lot of times I ask them, what's the minimum that you need? Now, this is where it's, I say negotiations a lot like jujitsu, where you're using the other person's effort against them. So whenever I say and I ask the question, well, what's the minimum that you need on a monthly basis? What's that number going to be? Relatively, it's going to be a high number. It's going to be very high. So because it's very high, right, in order for me to get to that high number, what do I need? I need no money down. Because if it's a down payment, if I do provide a down payment, that's going to lower the monthly payment. So I get them to see that picture. Well, it's like, if you want that number on a monthly basis, if you want that minimum money every single month, this is how much I have to put down. And it's zero, right? So it's a win-win. You get what you want and I get what I want. Does that sound fair enough? I think you guys get the picture. I thought Dodd-Frank made it illegal to add a balloon. So so Dodd-Frank was meant to protect predatory lending. This falls under the concept of contracting. So technically, they carry a note. So in that spectrum, they act as a bank, but they do not fall under the FDIC regulations. So Dodd-Frank, was primarily affecting to the FDIC and also a lot of the lending institutions. I don't agree a whole lot with Dodd-Frank because I think what the biggest issue that the Dodd-Frank was written to address, which is the 2008 recession, should have been instead addressing to rating agencies, which, surprise, surprise, as of the first and second quarter of this year, rating agencies are back. Right, government rating agencies are back, and we are in that Ferris wheel of what we saw in 2006 and 2007, 2008 happening all over again, right, starting this year, right? And also, ironically speaking, surprise, 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 JP Morgan and Chase start issuing out another version of what's called a CDO, right, or a CDS, so they speak, where they bundle mortgages together. And again, surprise, surprise, around the same time, the government rating agencies start coming back, right? Woohoo, right? It's happening all over again. So Dodd-Frank, I don't think it's illegal because I have vetted this contract with plenty of attorneys in Illinois and also out of state who actually wrote the contract themselves and have added balloons in actual deals that I've done recently. So thankfully, right, because I'm not a big fan of Dodd-Frank, I wish they would repeal it because it honestly, it solves a problem that wasn't a problem. And actually, in the meantime, handicaps a lot of entrepreneurs, that are wanting to make a living, that are wanting to buy apartments and collect the cash flow. Have I rented an apartment unit to Chief Keef? No, but I have rented an apartment to a guy that looks like Chief Keef. A lot of them, actually. I don't know who Chief Keef is. Who's Chief Keef, Dave?
A rapper.
Is that a rapper? Let me look up Chief Keef. Who is Chief Keef? Chief Keef. All right. Chief Keef. Oh, okay. Dreads. Keith Farrell Cozart, better known by his stage name Chief Keef, is an American rapper and record producer. So no, I believe I have not rented a property to this particular gentleman. I believe he has enough money to buy his own home and potentially even to buy his apartment. All right, guys, any other questions on real estate investing? And again, guys, just a reminder, give us a thumbs up. We would really appreciate it if you gave us a like on this video. It allows us to keep doing this stuff. It supports us. Let's try and get to 10 likes by the end of this recording, by the end of this live stream. I would really appreciate it if you guys would support us because, we're doing this for free. I'm dedicating an hour of my time every single week to give you guys free content. So In exchange, I would love it if you guys would give us a thumbs up on this live stream. So thank you guys again. Continue to answer those ask those questions. Let me go over some finishing household stuff. So obviously, free ownerfinancingcourse.com is a good one. Matt Smith, what do you follow for market trends? So I look at a lot of different business sites, so New York Times, Business Insider, Wall Street Journal. I watch the Business Channel once in a while, but a lot of times I try and stick to just data. I try and stay away from news outlets where they may have a little bit of a bias, such as Fox or CNN. But I like to stick to the data. So I love looking at research reports. IRR is a good one. Marcus and Millichap, they put out really good reports. So overall, I look at Census. Census is a really good one. Census.gov. I try and stick to just a lot of data. But other than that, I watch a lot of Yahoo Finance. It's a good channel I subscribe to. Money GPS is a really good YouTube channel that I follow. They got really good content as well. So and both YouTube channels, they put out like legitimately 3-4 videos a day, right? So it's really cool. I listen to it in my workouts every day. I listen to it in my commutes because I do a lot of driving. So it allows me to have a lot of input on information. So if you guys are curious, I'm actually doing a presentation tonight at 9 p.m. Central Time titled The Current State of the Real Estate Market. Feel free to join the Facebook group, Landlords and Passive Income Mastermind. So I'll type that in right now in the chat. So that Facebook group right there, I'll be going live on that Facebook group. So join that Facebook group. I'll be doing a live presentation titled The Current State of the Real Estate Market. So other housekeeping stuff. Oh, we're putting out a lot of really interesting stuff. I'm really excited to put out some videos. I know Sam was in the studio just this past week talking about some HELOC stuff. So obviously he'll be here on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time to do the same. But if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I know it's an early departure, but I don't see a whole lot of people engaging this week. Next week, we're going to talk about raising capital. So that's going to be the topic for the live stream. So we're going to be doing, not only talking about the markets in terms of people say where they're from, we're going to be talking about real estate investing live Q&A, whatever questions you guys want to bring. And also we'll be talking about raising capital next week, Monday, 11 a.m. Central Time. Same place in this professionally great studio. 11 a.m. Central Time next Monday. Thank you guys so much. I love you all. Oh, do you have any events coming up you recommend? Yes. So October 4th, Sam and I are actually going to be the keynote speakers at Market Mastermind Domination. It's happening in Dallas. So we put out, go to the KwakBrothers.com. We're putting out a lot of information on this event because Sam and I are keynote speakers. We got Les Brown Jr. coming. We got Bryce McKinley coming. We got a lot of other great speakers and also a lot of networking opportunities. So I would highly recommend going to that conference October 4th and 5th in Dallas. It's sponsored by REI Results Group and also the Kwak Brothers. So it's going to be really exciting. I'm pumped. We're going to be the keynote speakers again for that one. So check that out on our channel and also different platforms that we put informations on. So thank you guys so much. I love you all. I'll see you guys next Monday.